Here I am at Halkyn Castle Wood at Cherry Fire Circle, just getting ready for our very first medicine wheel workshop of the year. And today's focus is an introduction to the concept of the medicine wheel. And it's all around the direction of the east and the element of air. And it's all about fresh thinking and clarity and the mental space, clearing out the old and making some space for the new. Sorting out all those fuzzy thoughts that are getting in the way. So we've got some lovely, gorgeous activities planned, and a little bit of breath work and a little mindful meditation, and some territory mapping, of course. And I'm really, really excited to actually be in this space and be outside and be bringing all of the amazing things you can find in the digital version of Mojo School into the beautiful Welsh woodland. And we'll be doing this once every quarter as the seasons change. And it's so important right now that we share this wisdom and that we come together and we find ways to find common ground and support each other and support ourselves. And it really is vital, the way things are going in the world at the moment. The one thing that we do have is we have access to our own autonomy, our sovereignty, our choices. We have access to the natural environment. We have access to community. And all of these things are so very, very powerful. We've just lost our way over time and we've lost touch with these things. So it's my intention through Mojo School to bring back a little bit of that ancient wisdom and bring it up to date with our modern science and our modern technology and the way that people want to engage. But I'll always focus on bringing it back to the very basics and back to the beautiful ancient wisdom. It's such a gorgeous, beautiful space, and we all need it at the moment, don't we? We all need spaces that are conducive to healing and spending a bit of time just being rather than doing. This kind of, for me, marks the beginning of the next part of my journey and kind of opening officially of Mojo School. So we're going to follow the quarters of the medicine wheel, which you're going to learn about tonight, and we're going to do different things, and it's just going to be space throughout the year that we can just gather and convene, spend some time together, connecting with nature, and do a bit of healing. It's an important part of my journey to gather in numbers and to grow and to build my business, because part of building my business is going to be how I can better support my social mission, and I can better support all the good things that are going on. So you all know I'm Jane. And all of you actually probably know elements of my backstory anyway, so I'm not going to go into massive detail. And you've heard it so many times because I keep coming here and talking about it. You know the script, don't you? So I'm going to do a very long story, very short. 4 kids, grandbaby on the way. Spent 25 years in the most toxic industry, fashion and beauty. Loved it because I'm a creative, and I built my career up whilst having kids and being incredibly toxic with my behaviours because I was a raging people pleaser, massive overachiever, burnt out several times, ended up in hospital, shouting at the doctors to fix me really quickly because I was too busy to be in hospital. You can see where the problem arose. So I kind of went on a big long journey of trying to suss myself out and work out what was going on. But I'm really lucky that from the age of 11 or 12, I sort of realised that I was a little bit different in that my first language was in fact energy. And one of the things we're going to talk about, I'm not going to go too woo-woo tonight, but one of the things that is really important is the fact that some of this slightly more woo-woo stuff that people tend to avoid is a really big part of my life and a big part of my journey and a big part of actually why we're here. And I'm getting more and more drawn to speak about some of these topics, which is really exciting because I've censored a lot of this over many, many years in order to fight the system and in order to work in schools and within government and in all these places where you have to be super credible and you have to prove something. or you have to use incredibly academic or scientific language in order to be heard and understood, especially as a woman, like especially a woman with mad hair and tattoos. Because I've come to the point where you can't, we said this yesterday, the system is not fightable anymore. I've done that bit, I've done 10 years of that, and now I'm like, oh, I'm going to be over here. So I'm feeling very authentic in this kind of wisdom sharing now, which is one of the reasons it's taken me so long to create Mojo School and to create these kind of workshops. And the whole point is to bridge. I'm like the bridge in between. I feel like I'm the sort of counterbalance between the very scientific and the very spiritual. And both ends of that spectrum are sometimes really difficult to engage with or understand or connect with. But I think I do that really well. And I'm in the middle with that. And I'm kind of the translator. So I have lots and lots of experience and information background in the psychotherapy space, lots of neuroscience, which is so important for people to understand and learn about. Why we don't learn it in school is bonkers to me, but that's another big story. These things we should be understanding about ourselves, and we should be passing it on to the next generation. But not just that, not just the brain science and the psychotherapy and all this top-down cognitive stuff about how we think and feel and behave and all of the academic stuff and the provable stuff. We also have different parts to ourselves, and we need to understand how our energy works and how some of these bigger concepts affect us, because they do. So that's part of why I'm here now, is that I'm finding my voice in that space a little bit more, which is an interesting part of my journey. But after I'd spent all this time burning out, I made a point of reconnecting in with that side of myself, and I would pretty much say that is the reason that I'm good at what I do now, and that I'm pretty healthy. I probably look younger than I did when I was in my late 20s, early 30s. I feel healthier than I did because I'm not burning out. I understand myself. I understand, my own energy and how to show up as a parent, how to show up as a friend a bit better, and a wife. And that's because I kind of connected in with myself and did an awful lot of shadow work, which sounds really scary, but it's not. It's brilliant. It's the best thing I ever did. Actually connecting in with myself and sussing out some of my, and Angela will probably be able to confirm this, because you've been on that journey with me now in the past year, looking at some of the things, some of the behaviours and some of the things that I was doing and shining a light on it so that I could, bring it out and work on it. It's a game changer. It's a game changer in every aspect of life. And that's what led me from this being a very energy sensitive empath as a child and navigating growing up, navigating my own family stuff and my own parent stuff, which I share loads of. It's all on the podcast as well. My Batman origin stories on my podcast, if you want to have a listen. But navigating all of that stuff and then becoming this raging people pleaser, overachiever with my cape on, having these babies. We were laughing the other day at home about Gracie's maternity leave, talking about maternity leave and who took what and when. I was like, I took 3 days. It took 3 days, and I went back to work with a baby on my boob and carried on working because I thought that was a measure of success, or I was really tough. Like, clearly that was inaccurate, but it took me a good few years to realise that. I thought I was going to win some kind of medal. Like, yeah, super mom, super wife, I've got 2 businesses and I'm not even 30 yet, look at me. I'm just like winning at life. And then got into fashion and I was like, yeah, bucket list, this is amazing. Go to New York, do fashion week. These are all the things I've ever wanted to do. Why do I feel like absolute shit? Why do I feel really inauthentic and like mismatched and not quite connected? And why do I keep going into hospital? So it took all of that stuff to kind of shift me a little bit and make me backtrack into my sort of energy space. Connecting back in with that is what helped me heal from all that stuff. So on my merry little way, doing all the things that I've done, I ended up in Peru very randomly in 2013. Wasn't randomly, but for argument's sake, let's just say randomly. Though there are no coincidences. I went to Peru really unexpectedly because a friend came into my salon and said, oh, I'm going to go and do the Inca Trail. And I hadn't seen her for about 10 years. And I went, oh, I'd love to do that. She went, why don't you come? I went, all right. Literally went to Peru, left the kids with Craig. I just felt like I needed to be there. Like maybe like the reason you decided to come here and not do your homeschool. I need to be there. There's always a reason for something. You go somewhere and you pick up something, or there's a bit of wisdom, or you learn something new, or you meet somebody. These things happen because you need something at the time. And I knew I was going, like, yeah, however I do it, I'll get there. And that experience kind of brought me back to myself again. It was when I was in the middle of all this crazy burnout stuff, running the businesses. And I came back from there with like a real sort of 180 big shift, something just, the world just turned a little bit. And I kind of realised a little bit more about my purpose and what I wanted to do. And, I wanted to use my experiences within fashion and within all this toxic, horrible space where I knew I was part of the problem. And all these people over here and my own kids, self-esteem is shot to pieces because we're looking at these magazines and this is what you should look like and then you'll be happy. And then I was working with all these models, these beautiful people who had the worst self-esteem out of anyone and were just really traumatized and harmed. I'm like, oh, I thought this was going to be great, but this is actually quite harmful. So I decided I was going to do something different with those skills that I'd learned. And I'd learned to be a good leader. I'd learned to manage big events, and I'd learned to work well under pressure. And I'd learned to balance family life with all those kind of things, albeit badly for a while. I thought, well, there must be a reason that I've been on that little journey. What can I do with it now? Now I've kind of recognised a bit more of my purpose. And that's how the transition came, that I started to do shows in this country all around storytelling and healing and just hearing people and hearing different perspectives and allowing people the chance to be seen and be heard and be understood. And that started, that shifted the tracks for me. And during the process, the last sort of 10 years of doing that, it's been really, really obvious to me when I've been called into schools, into isolation rooms, into homeless shelters, working with drugs and alcohol, working with veterans, working with domestic violence and abuse survivors, all these different places where there was like real high levels of distress and anxiety and trauma. Everyone needed the same thing. Everybody seemed to need just the space to be able to just drop down, manage their energy, because I could feel the energy, even though they didn't realize that's what it was. Just bring the energy down to a space where they could actually just be for a second, not be stuck in the trauma of the past or the panic about the future, and just have somebody to hold that space as a bit of a container of safety so that they could just process and I could listen and they could find a way to tell their story, whether it was scribbling something down or maybe playing a piece of music or writing a story about a character that was actually them. There was always different ways that people ended up starting to purge and release things. But right now, that's why I'm here. So I developed this big toolkit along the way, just trying to help people with the skills that I had to share their story in spaces like this and through different creative projects. And there was some very common themes with every single person I worked with, no matter gender, age, demographic, background. There were some very specific things that were cropping up around when they were younger, maybe their formative years, maybe something had been said or in school or within their culture, their family unit, their friendship circle that had a massive impact on them and had programmed in some beliefs that then kind of shaped everything that they did. So, in my mission to try and just help people feel a bit better, I'd started to collect this toolkit along the way of things that helped and things that worked. And that eventually became Mojo School. So I think there's a need for this kind of stuff more than ever before. So I'm feeling the pull to try and get word out there and share the love and share my tools. But I couldn't do that in person anymore because you girls know exactly what it's like. I was in the field, like, trying to plug little holes and there's just everything's on fire and nobody knows what they're doing and you can't help and you can't be of service and you can't be effective because you just burn yourself out, you get sick. We all know the system does not work in any way, shape or form in any part of society. Nothing's really fit for purpose. However, what we can do is have a bit of autonomy and empower ourselves to do bits that we can do. We can't change big things overnight. Some of us are trying, and we've got there's routes in to change. Yeah, but there are ways and there are shifts happening and there are things happening. But in the meantime, each and every person can do so much for themselves, and then that ripple has a massive effect. So I need to digitize all my wisdom, all my tools, all my skills, and all the things that I know work and I get great feedback from. I need to stick it on some kind of digital platform that people can access as an app. They can get it on the phone. It's like having me in the pocket. Or you can mute me and just watch or read the subtitles if you've heard it all before. But it's there, it's instant access. People have got access to the things that I know are tried and tested and will help in real time to make them feel better. But not just like plasters over gaping wounds, actually a learning process and a pathway that will actually shift their limiting beliefs and shift their thought processes and manage their anxiety to the point that it actually no longer applies in a lot of situations, because the whole background subconscious is shifting and changing throughout the process. So you can step into the better version of you that just feels good. So it's 18 courses that are split into 4 quarters. And that is what the medicine wheel is. No matter where you look, there are some universal principles that we follow in order to be healthy and well as a human being. And it transcends language, it transcends geography. It's just fundamental what it means to be human. Unfortunately, in the West, we've just lost it. We've lost the wisdom, we've lost our way, we have become disconnected from ourselves, from each other, from nature, from our purpose, and we're just kind of going through the motions every day, like, oh, I've got to make money to pay bills, I just need to keep scrolling to distract myself, and something will get better sooner or later. And we're all stuck in that horrible place. It's like having your foot on the gas and the brake at the same time, and you're not actually getting anywhere, and everything feels really, really horrible. So the medicine wheel helps us balance that all together. And the philosophy is that, just like a circle split into 4 quarters, human being has 4 parts of themselves. And if we don't pay attention to the 4 parts of ourselves, then we get sick. And it's something that I have lived by, and I will die on that hill, that this is such a powerful tool, and most people neglect at least 2, if not 3 parts of that wheel, and will focus in on one area and then wonder why they still feel like shit. So to be able to, if I do nothing else but pass on that little bit of wisdom, that's a takeaway that you can start working with straight away. So I built this whole curriculum around this concept that we have 4 parts to ourselves, and the 4 parts connect in with the directions on a compass, and they connect in with an element, and they connect in with a different part of self. So there's some really nice ways to represent it. And it starts off in the East. This particular workshop is all about the East. And the East is connected to the element of air, which is why I just got you to breathe at the beginning. East, air, it's the direction that the sun rises. It's that direction, isn't it? I'm right. Okay, it's magical. The East, the sun rises in the East, so it's a perfect place for me to start my medicine wheel. It's where everything begins. It's where the new day begins. It's around fresh thinking. It's around new perspectives. It's around the mental plane. So it's all connected with your mental health and your thoughts, and it's where things like anxiety and stress sit. So you come in at base camp and you assess what the hell is going on, and you find out what you need and how to chart your course for the future. Then you move into the East, and there's 4 courses in the East, and they're like little bite-sized snackable learning points. The app's live now, so on your phone, and you work your way through. I've tried to make it as engaging and accessible as possible. So there's little 5-minute videos, there's little PDFs, there's quizzes, there's, if you like to read, there's little short tiny ebooks, reflective journaling points. So I've tried to hit everybody's learning style, so it just feels like you're scrolling, like Netflix for self-development. And then the best bit spits out a certificate at the end. So once you've done one, it's like a little module, a little course. Oh my God, dopamine hit. See, I'm like a dopamine dealer, brain chemistry. So you get a certificate, and then you build all these certificates, and they're accredited. So we've got some accreditations attached. The accreditations with the International Practitioners of Holistic Medicine, the Complementary Medical Association, and the CPD group. So if you're a professional, then you can do CPD hours. And then you get all these lovely certificates on your dashboard. And the first 4 are all around top down. Anxiety hack, think yourself well. There's a course called From Limiting Beliefs to Unlimited Potential. And there's a course that is called, this is really, really relevant one, From Chaos to Calm. And it's all about mindfulness for busy, neurospicy minds. Because people are like, I can't do mindfulness. I can't sit in the lotus position and just breathe, even though I tried to make you breathe before. But if that doesn't work for you, it doesn't mean you can't do mindfulness. There's a ton of different ways to be present. So that course just takes you through some tips and some ideas and some journaling prompts. And then you get another certificate. And that's how it works all the way around. So there's all these little bite-sized little courses. And then we move into the north. So the next time we come here, we'll be focused on the north. North direction is the element of earth. And it's about grounding. Might even get everyone to take their shoes off, put their feet on the ground. Unless they hate feet, of course. But it's things like connection to people, connection to the environment, connection to your own body, things like body scan, what you put in your body, nutrition, things like food and movement. So there's loads and loads of things in there. There's 4 courses specifically around those topics. moving to the west after the north, and that is great. It's all around creativity. Even if people hate being creative, I think you love the west because you're like so crafty and creative. But there's so many different ways, and it's around a lot of work around trauma happens in that space. And it doesn't mean trauma with a big T, it can be trauma with a little t. And it's so psychologically informed that there is never any popping the lids off things. It's just what you're ready to do when you're ready to do it. And we use things like music medicine and creating playlists and drumming and throwing paint at things or building things out of natural resources. It's just something that helps the process of moving energy through. And the concept of energy, if it's totally new to you, I know you do Reiki, if it's dead new to you, I explain that along the way, and there's certain elements of that will come in around how important it is. Your vibe is really important. And the final quarter is the south, and that's the element of fire, and that's my element. I am super fire. I'm a Saggy. Everything that led towards my burnout was around fire. Injustice is just any kind of injustice anywhere, and I was right at the pointy end. I was fighting the cause, and I wasn't particularly healthy with that approach. And there's a difference between being really healthy with that and being really toxic with that because of things that you've experienced in the past. And I had to do loads of reflexive work to actually learn how to harness that part of me and that fiery energy the right way. So we do lots of cool work around fire and transformation. There's a whole course in the south around the subject of energy and around your own energetic field, some of the science behind it. If you're not familiar with your energy points, your chakras, there's information on that. You haven't got there yet, but you'll love it. There's a lot of work around universal principles to break down some barriers with different kind of cultural nuances to that. There's a lot in the south around that kind of soul focus, transformation, spiritual development, but it's more around identity and passion and purpose and managing your energy. And then there's a gratitude course, which you're going to love at the very end. And then you get all your 18 certificates of a portfolio. And then that's the point where, and Angela and Lucy are both at this point now, becoming mentors. So, and when you hear, Angela and Lucy speak in a little while about their kind of experiences so far, you can see that once you start, similar to my journey, once you start to find things work in your life genuinely and you build your toolkit, you really want to help other people. You're like, oh my God, I need to pass this on. And that's my hope, is lighting touch papers. I want to just light touch papers and help other people, support them through the process, and then allow them to be able to move into a mentorship space with loads of support so they can go out and light other people's touch papers. And it's the best we can do, it's working on yourself, then sending out ripples, and that is massive, massive. If each one teach one, an African proverb. There's all the science and all the Latin, which tends to confuse people. So it is called the amygdala, but you think of it as your guard dog. And after tonight, I guarantee you will recognise when your guard dog is barking. You will forget the word amygdala probably, unless you know it, but you will remember the guard dog analogy. So I always use metaphor. It's dead easy, no matter how old you are or young you are, it's easy to explain. So your amygdala should be doing this, just pulsing away nice and safely. Nothing's going on, nothing's happening. Just scanning and scanning and scanning and scanning. And then when something crosses your peripheral vision or your senses or something is picked up, it starts to do this and it starts to go, ah, and the dog starts to bark in your brain. And it's sounding the alarm that something isn't quite right. It doesn't know what it is, but something is wrong and it needs to do something about it really quickly. And if somebody who has PTSD, that is what your amygdala is doing. It's constantly hyper-aroused, hyper-aware, doesn't stop barking, constantly going off in the background. And what happens is there's a whole chain of chemical reactions when the amygdala starts to bark. So when your guard dog starts to go off, signals get sent really super fast before you can even become consciously aware that there's any kind of danger. So like when there's a bit of fluff that goes past you and you haven't even seen it, but you're like, oh my God, there's a big spider, it's going to get me. You haven't really noticed properly. Something in your peripheral vision, or when you feel the hairs on the back of your neck stand up and you don't know why. Something is being perceived within your field as being a danger and your amygdala has clocked it. Your guard dog barks because it's just doing its job. It's like an excited puppy that's just, oh, the postman's here, something's over there. Because it's trying to do its job. And as soon as the guard dog barks, there's a whole series of chemical reactions that happen in order to keep you alive. And chemicals such as adrenaline, which you'll all have heard of, and cortisol, which you may have heard of, immediately flood your system. And the reason for this is in our evolutionary past, it was essential for survival that we couldn't wait around to actually notice properly and to have a little meeting with ourselves to assess, I don't know, is it a danger? Is there a danger? Because you're just eaten by the predator, aren't you? So you haven't got the time to calculate that. So our brains are really smart, and the reptilian part of your brain, the base of your brain, first part to develop, had all of these really cool features that meant we survived as a species. So if there was some kind of danger on the horizon, the amygdala's job was to sound the alarm. The chemicals were then released into the system, and all the energy in your body is quickly sent to your extremities, so to your hands and your feet, so that you can fight or run away. Clever. I think it's super smart. We can do that, and that's how we're still here, because we've managed to survive in that way. So it's a really important function. It does the job really well. However, it's not meant to be switched on 24 hours a day. It's really not good for us. It was designed as a switch to flick if there was a real danger, and we had to switch your sympathetic nervous system on so that you could go into fight, flight, or freeze, and you could escape the danger and survive. Then you're meant to switch it back and chill out and get into what's called rest and digest, or your parasympathetic nervous system. Two sides to your nervous system. We're meant to be chilling out. We're meant to be in this lovely, relaxed space where we're connected with each other, we're connected with nature, we are feeding and breeding, we are procreating, we're sitting around the campfire, we're sharing stories, we are feeling chilled out, we are eating, we're getting nutrients in our body, we're using our breath, we're breathing properly. That's the state we're supposed to be in. But we have gone way wrong over the years, especially in the West. Everybody's switches are flicked permanently because of what we see in the media, because we're scrolling constantly, because there's some kind of danger around the corner at all times. But it's very rarely a saber-toothed tiger or a bear. It's usually some kind of program running in the background from a bad experience. And it's usually connected to some kind of distorted belief around being judged, not being good enough, not being safe. Something in there that's just locked in. But your conscious mind doesn't know that. All it knows is something's not right. I feel like shit. Something's dangerous. Can't stop moving. I need to get out of here. I'm not safe. That's all that you're aware of in your body. But you don't actually need it. It's like surplus. It's stuff that we don't need, and it's all bad programming. So we need to find ways to swipe the apps that we don't need, uninstall them. It's just clogging up your bandwidth and draining your battery. So we need to find them, because you don't know. There could be some massive big T traumas in there from your past that and you don't even want to go near them. That could be part of your programming, and there's ways to approach that and to safely work through some of that stuff to move that energy through. There could be stuff that you aren't even aware of. We've had a few good conversations around, like, actually, when I was at school once, I remember when I was about 6, I did a drawing and I did something wrong in the drawing, and I can't even remember what it was, but I do remember that the teacher laughed or my friends laughed, and I remember, because it was such a strong feeling, that I never got up again, and I just didn't want to speak again, and I didn't want to draw again because I was bad at drawing and I wasn't creative. You've forgotten about that. You don't know that's a thing, but actually it's been running in the background and shaping everything you've ever done. So it's super important to understand that process and to then wind back. Start to uninstall some of the apps. Get the easy ones off first. Find and do a bit of digging. Find out some of those unhealthy, distorted beliefs. And the big ones, that's the big shadow work. If you're not quite ready for it, then that's when you have somebody or something around your campfire to help the process. And I've done some quite big, deep stuff. And I find I've got some really good practices that work for me that I do by myself. A lot of people need another person to be able to work through that. Therapist, a coach, some kind of talking therapy, some kind of creative therapy, or somebody that's trained to help you through the process. But there's always a way. There's always a way through the process, and there's always a way to uninstall this stuff, because really, it's not present. Whatever the experiences are from your past are experiences from your past. The saber-toothed tiger, the bear, is not here right now, but you're still experiencing the same kind of reactions. The feelings are locked in. And going back to my woo-woo from before about energy, emotion is energy in motion. Trapped emotion is trapped energy. The blueprint that when this horrendous thing, whatever it was, whether it was the teacher laughing at you when you were 6 or the horrific incident that happened when you were 12, your body took a snapshot because it was so important for survival to remember this moment, and it was just such a big life-changing moment to you at that time. Your body had to take a snapshot and lock it in somewhere for future reference. And if you don't find a way to let go of it or find a way to release it, it affects every single thought you ever have from that point on. And then what happens is you behave in a certain way around those parameters, and then you create more of those opportunities, and then you attract more of those toxic people. And then your behavior dictates more of those situations that give you more stress and more anxiety. And all of these things get stacked and stacked and stacked. All these snapshots get stacked in your body over time. And that's what we experience as disease or disease. And that's what we experience as this constant anxiety trap where the switch is flicked because our brain believes there's danger everywhere. So the trick is to actually start to reprogram some of the beliefs in the safest possible way, start to uninstall some of that stuff and instantly feel better. So even just having the understanding of these triggers in your swamp, of actually what's going on between your brain and your body, actually reflecting on the fact that it isn't actually anything present now, there's no present danger now, is a good tool to start with. And then it's an exploration of building your toolkit to help you manage them feelings. Because having the knowledge of this is not going to stop the feelings from cropping up. So you might know this now, go, oh, I know I'm doing this now, and I know why I feel like this. Your body is still going to do it. But having the awareness does help you move to the next stage of actually, okay, then I can start to learn how to breathe a little bit better. I can start to use my 5x5. If you've not learned that, there's another tool that I'll share at some point, using your 5 senses. There's loads of tools that I go through in time, lots of somatic tools, body-based tools that help in the moment, orienting, pendulating, using your body to stop that anxiety response. So that's the trick now, is to start to build your toolkit so that you can move out of those spaces, and gradually what you'll find is you spend slightly less time with the switch flicked on and then slightly less time. And what you want is to get more balance. So eventually that response is only there when it's useful, when there is something to fight about or something to run away from. The rest of the time you should be chilling, rest and digest, and living your best life. It's the plan. And the way you do that is by connecting the 4 parts of yourself through the medicine wheel. All 4 parts: the mental, the physical, the emotional, and the spiritual. That's where your purpose comes from. So the whole cycle has to be met in balance and completed for you to do these pieces of work. Cortisol, just as an FYI, it's incredible because actually your cells start to inflame and they start to react in case you get caught by the predator, so that they're already repairing. How smart is that and sophisticated? So that's the reason cortisol is rushing through your system, so that it can start the cellular repair process. So you've got a better chance of survival if you get caught. But imagine what is going on in your system if all your cells are constantly hyperinflamed all of the time when they don't need to be. And imagine what's going on in your body if adrenaline is sending, all your energy is being sent to your extremities. So it's not needed for digestion. It's not needed for your immune system. It's not needed for your reproductive system. Because in that moment, your brain calculates, I don't need to eat this burger or digest it because I'm probably going to get eaten by a bear in the next 60 seconds. So all of your systems shut down so that you can, your energy is going where it's needed. But long term, your body is not liking that. It's not good for you. So health in general, we have to take these things seriously because it's massively impactful. And you can see it by the amount of prescriptions getting written, by the amount of people who are sick, by the amount of people who are in chronic pain, and by the way sort of society is going. So it's all important info.